Hi, my name is Marco, and I'm going to be talking about the Youth Voices and Community Solutions discussion questionnaire and be talking about two questions in particular, which I have a lot of interest in. One of them I'm quite passionate about, another one which I do want to talk about in a minute because it targets a certain realm which I can relate to. The first question, which is question 10, is if you had one opportunity to propose a reform policy to policy leaders, what would you propose? And how would that reform create a chain of positive effects? Now, one thing I would say, one reform I would definitely implement, as basic as it may seem, is taxing billionaires and extremely wealthy people. Not the people who are earning like 100K a year, 200K a year, or million pounds a year. Not those people. Specifically, the group of individuals whose wealth can rival that of an entire country's GDP. Those are the people in question who I'm talking about. Mainly because these people are one of the reasons why countries like the UK face extreme wealth inequality. Wealth inequality is one of the biggest issues the UK faces, and it's one of the reasons why, for a lot of people in the UK who are working class, or even people a lot more lower than that, have a very hard time navigating the country economically. Like, for example, public transport is extremely expensive. Nowadays, the UK even struggles to even support the NHS, for instance. And with stuff like privatization coming into places like public transport, making things even more expensive, it becomes a lot more difficult to navigate around the UK and even manage your finances well, which on top of that, there's inflation and recession that the UK is facing, which is horrible. But why would I even suggest taxing the billionaires, for example? Well, mainly by many of these are individuals who are finding ways to either pay less taxes, and as a result, people like the working class and normal people are getting punished for that. Um, Porous public services, having difficult times, even paying basic rent and other services, and even then, even hard to it's hard for people to even find jobs nowadays, mainly because of how bad the economy is. Most people are either not offering jobs or companies are being quite stingy with them, despite their records of success this year. For example, companies like Weatherspoons, despite them having record earning in 2025, are shutting down more like pubs than you can imagine, and even offering less shifts to people. Even my own friends, for example, are facing this, where they have been offered less shifts because of these shutdowns, which is just ridiculous. It's like, how can a company who's earning a lot more have to make other people suffer for it? Like, makes no sense. But the wealth inequality thing would not only force more billionaires to pay more money to operate in the UK if they want to do business in the country, but at the same time, that money can be used to help fund and support a lot of things that the UK would need, particularly things in the public sector, such as the NHS, for example. Providing more funding to them will allow people to get more support, more medical support, faster appointments, because that's one of the biggest issues the UK currently faces. More money going to public transport, which ultimately allow for more publicization of public transport, making it more cheaper, ultimately allowing people to access it more efficiently. And ultimately, this will also create more jobs for people in the UK. And it would also, I would also say, or even argue, it would decrease the amount of discrimination that a lot of people, like immigrants, people of different cultural backgrounds, face. Because nowadays, for some reason, they are being used as a scapegoat to be blamed for all these issues, when in reality, they have nothing to do with the problem whatsoever. And everything, they've actually helped the economy way more. So the fact that they are being used as a scapegoat for these problems rather than the actual issue at hand, which is wealth inequality, is ridiculous. And I feel like it would also help calm down this, and also make realize what the problem is at its core. It's actually to do wealth inequality. The second one is that's the first question, or question 10. Question 8 is which policy changes would immediately improve basic rights of, of the most overlooked groups? I would say any like policies that in like force stricter punishments towards people who commit crimes against people of different racial backgrounds, because nowadays we are seeing a huge increase of racial discrimination and crimes against people of different marginalized groups. people who are following Islam, people who are different skin colors and darker skin tones, for example, there's a massive increase in crime towards these people. Because again, it's similar to what I mentioned before of how the scapegoat problem. People are using people as a scapegoat for the problems at hand in the UK rather than realizing that there's more to these problems and the people you're targeting have nothing to do with them at all. They're also victims of these issues as well, but they're being blamed for it, which makes no sense. I think giving these people more stricter punishments for people who commit these crimes will not only stop people from committing these crimes towards these people of marginalized groups, like stricter time in jail, stricter fines, ultimately would make people realize more and more that these people have nothing to do with what's happening nowadays. They have nothing to do with the core issues that the country is facing, and instead, and also allow people to feel more safe in the country as well, and it make people realize that at the core, they have nothing to do with the problem. The problem that the UK is facing is a lot more is technically right in your face, but either you're not doing the research for it, which one of them is wealth inequality, or you're just choosing to be ignorant about it. And yeah, that's my answer to those two questions. And one of the reasons I answered them is because I'm quite passionate about it. But yeah, that's all. Thank you very much.